Hello fellow YouTubers, welcome back to YouTube Gaming Community number 101. Our title for today is Rewarding Games. Now first of all, thank everybody who left a comment congratulating me for reaching 100 on YouTube Gaming Community last show. Thank everybody who left very nice comments about the series in general. And it was really cool to see people who haven't left a comment in a very long time leave comments to it. I really thank every single one of you for the great comments. Now, today's topic comes from mp4podcast.com. He sent me this message on Skype, and I'm going to read the entire thing to you. Said, Robert, I have a question for the next episode. When you talked, you said your son is playing Sonic. We were talking on Skype right before I went to go record YouTube Gaming Community 100, and my son at the time was on my Genesis playing Sonic the Hedgehog. And I was wondering, games back then that only gave you so many continues make a better game and are also more rewarding. When I was 13, I had the NES and I had a friend over after work. I had a summer park job, and me and my friend would go to my house and play Super Mario all day. I was able to beat Super Mario with one life. After beating the game, my friend forgot it was his turn because he was just watching me play and was kind of hypnotized. Now when I try to play Super Mario, I can't even beat the game with 4 lives. I would say retro games, the great ones, are more rewarding after you beat them than the newer ones. Now, I think the rewarding in games, newer games compared to older games, are totally different. I think newer games today, the rewards are kill streaks, the rewards are achievements, trophies, and the rewards are starting and are going to come out more and more as it goes along, I think, are unlockable items or more items to make the game more fun or add more to the game as you go through beating the game. Back then, the reward was basically surviving to the end of the game and getting the end of the game. Or beating that boss that you've tried over and over again to beat, and finally you beat that boss. Now, my opinion is today, if games were just as difficult and had limited continues, I don't think gaming today would be as popular as it is. See, because nostalgia kind of tweaks your memory. It makes you think things were greater than they usually were as you look back on things. Because, let's take Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. This is a game on my NES I beat over 100 times back in the day when I owned it. Today when I go put this game in, I get my butt shellacketed by Mike Tyson. And yes, I said shellacketed. So, you gotta remember, back in those days, you got maybe 5-10 video games a year. Most of them probably were during Christmas. And so you played, unless you rented video games, you had a video store that allowed you to rent video games. You played every nook and cranny of that game. You had your Nintendo Power, your Game Pro, your Electronic Game Monthly, and you were doing the walkthrough, every secret. Back then, everybody was playing that, whatever the big game was, so you all were talking about the game. Hey, you know, I beat that boss, how'd you beat that guy, or whatever it was back then. And there's also passwords, even in the NES days, for games, so you would beat that level that you've like just snuck by, and you never would have to go back because you had the password. Mega Man is, in the NES, like famously, is difficult, right? You had to die over and over again to finally memorize that level where you could do it without thinking, and then you got to the boss, and then you had to figure out what's the pattern to beat that boss. And once you did that, you went to the next level and you had to start all over again. That when I go back and play another game, it's nostalgia is mixed in with it. Star Fox, to me, the original, doesn't hold up very well today graphically. There are other games that I used to love that graphically, when I go back and play those games, I remember in my mind, wow, I used to love that game, and I go play it and I go, wow, I never realized this, and this were that flawed in the game. Now also remember, newer gamers are coming back from today playing a 360, a PS3, or a Wii, and going back to or a DS, a PSP, going back to the past. So they're coming from a time frame where they have games that are easier, where there's more gameplay options and stuff to do, whereas back then it was limited. Whereas back then, playing F-Zero, control-wise, you had to do it perfect. That any flaw, and you died, and you had to start over again. How about Battletoads with the limited continues that game had? Well, did anybody not find that game frustrating later on in the game? I mean, that's one of the things we're talking about, that gamers a lot of times would get totally frustrated back then because it was so hard to beat a level. And rewarding is dependent on what you think. Developers today want you to beat the whole game, know the whole story, and what their vision is. They want you to see the whole thing. Back then it was more an arcade mentality, like in the NES, where you died a lot, you had to continue a lot because it was more of a, to put more quarters in the arcade machines. And that the NES, as the NES life went on, they were trying to get out of that mold. But that was the prevalent mode back then. Today is not the case. So depending on, I think, when you started playing video games, really is your opinion will differ whether older games are better than newer games. I don't think they're better, I just think the experiences are differently. Anyway, leave your comments below or video response or message, and I will read those at the next video. So, next thing I got is from VG Reviews 95, and I'll read the message he sent to me. Hey man, I got sent here by Mr. DSBX because I got ripped off by XX Money 3DXX. I bought a Sega Genesis for $35 and he sent me a message saying he got the money in the mail and that he's going to send it out on Monday, and that was 3 weeks ago. So could you please mention this in one of your videos? Now, I have no proof whatsoever that he ripped him off. I mean, it's his word versus the other guy's word. Now, XX Money 3DXX has sent packages to other people on YouTube who have made videos saying they got his package. Now, it could be he got the money and then like a week later he goes, I need to send that package out, and he forgot about it, and then another week before you know it. Or maybe, assuming it was sent here in the United States, he sent it parcel post. And for those who don't know what parcel post means, why the post office gives you a time frame, parcel post is treated as basically it will get there someday, meaning it's the least important mail to be sent out. In other words, if other mail it needs to be sent out and there's so much of it, that parcel post will be left till later on. So maybe he sent that thing the slowest thing possible and it's going to take a long time to get there. But the reason why I really read this message was, when trading with people on YouTube, if you really don't know the person really well, don't be trading stuff or taking a risk on stuff that you can't afford to lose or want to lose. Now, someone's always got to take a chance on someone for their very first trade, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The reason why I haven't done any trades with people is, or people say, hey, I saw that you went to the store and you said they had this, can you get this for me? If I'm not sure I'm going back to that store anytime soon and I can get out to you soon, I'm not going to do it. Because I don't want that person to be upset, or I can't do what I say I'm going to do to that person. But I will tell you this. Make sure you know the person really well when you do a trade. Make sure if you're going to send something very important or something that or getting something that you really want, just make sure you know who that person. Make sure you check to see if that person has sent stuff to other people and they have a good reputation. So that's all I got to say about that subject. Now let's get to videos to check out. And the first one is by Luke Morris 1, how to get to the retro game store Super Potato from the Akihabara station in Japan. Super Potato is a really cool retro store in Japan. He just shows you walking from the station to there, and you can see all the signs and like KFC and all that stuff. His next video is short trip from Akihabara electronics vendors. So it's really cool to see all the vendors and stuff in that area. Also, by the way, while you're there, go congratulate Luke Morris 1 because he is now a YouTube partner. So congratulations! It's really cool to me to see someone like that get it, because when I originally first watched his channel, see how much fun he's having with the arcade games, or the way or the setup he has in his place. He was one of the reasons I actually started making videos on YouTube, because of how much fun to me his channel was. So it's really cool that he got partnership. Next is Faceball 5, how to play Super Nintendo games on your HTC Evo 4G / Android 2.3. So if you want to see, and he does show you like Super Mario World, and that it does work. Next up, HappyConsoleGamer Game Chasers Rock. It's always cool when someone shouts somebody else. The one thing I always like in a shout out video is when someone explains to you why they like another channel. not just like I'm shouting this channel because I like it. When they actually explain why they like a channel. Now, HappyConsoleGamer hasn't shouted out any channels in about a year. And I will say this, honestly, I do these videos 3 times a week now. I shout a bunch of people out. Even though I do, you still get those people, man, when am I going to get a shout out? How come I don't get a shout out? And people got to understand that I understand why people don't want to do shout outs, because people expect them to, or people hound them about it. I mean, if you don't like the channel you're going to shout out, or you don't really believe in that channel, then you shouldn't shout that channel out. You shouldn't feel like you're forced to shout a channel out just because someone leaves a comment like, hey, why didn't you shout my channel out? No matter who you shout out, you're always going to get that, right? No matter, you could shout out a channel, 100 channels every day, you're still going to have people complain you didn't shout them out. Next up, PeteDorr Resurrected RPGs, a response to Ball Nick 1982. It's really cool that he did a response to somebody else's video on YouTube about what series do you want to see a sequel, or what game do you want to see resurrected, and he gives his opinion of the video. So really cool, go check that out. Next up is TheLastGamerTube, Last Gamer Forgotten Ghost. He got a Forgotten Worlds arcade board, and he shows you, when he plugs in, he shows you the game, and then he shows you something he found where, because this was a prototype board, there's actually Ghouls and Ghosts music in it, and he's wondered if maybe that music was supposed to be in the game or not. But anyway, you should check that out. Captain 8-Bit, the Game Chasers Seattle fan opportunity, plus episode 7 sneak peek. Basically, they're going to be at PAX, and they don't have a cameraman, so he tells you the date and stuff, and that if you're interested in being a cameraman for him, and we'll be in the Seattle area at PAX, then simply go watch the video and leave him a comment. Next up, OmegaSin, Capcom charging for demos. If you did not know, in Japan, Capcom is going to release a demo to a game, and they're charging equivalently, I think it's $2.10 US to buy the demo of the game. And like he said, and other people, I know other people talking to something, if they had actually, like, you buy this demo, then they'll take that off the game. That's just not the case. And so I don't know if they're just using this game to test this for other places or what, but again, it leads more people to say, Capcom, what are you thinking? Anyway, obviously you know his opinions, and that could be very positive, but if you're interested, check out that video. Next up is SplatterTrigger, Terra, Tina, Branford, Final Fantasy Plushie. People made this plushie for him. It's a really cool plushie, so go check it out. Next up is Doginmylense Moving DSi ware to your 3DS. So if you want to know how to do it, or you're thinking about getting a 3DS and you're worried about moving your DSi stuff over, check that video out. Also, I saw that now the 3DS is getting a red version of it coming over here. Next up, FreddieW Duck Hunt. Actually, it's Duct Hunt, where basically he takes Metal Gear Solid sound effects and Metal Gear Solid and does a comedy parody of it. So you should check that out. Next up is MetalJesusRocks, recent pickups of rare Zelda game. He has a lot of pickups in this video. A lot of video game pickups, a lot of cool ones. Gets the Sega Saturn and stuff. But the really coolest thing he got was a Zelda game from Japan. It's Zelda for the GameCube. Obviously, the Zelda game that came out at the very end of the GameCube's life cycle, that came out to the Wii, Twilight Princess. What's cool about this game is very rare. I believe he said you can only get it online only, so you want to check out the case and check. It's really cool. Next up, TheGUNNShop, YouTube greed and corruption exposed. Okay, this is one of those things you should know about how people twist the system on YouTube to stay on top or try to get an unfair advantage. Because listen, a lot of people don't look at the graphs. So you click on a video and see, how many people favorited it and how many percent, and their website you can go to see what percentage of a video was favored. And if a video has an extremely high percentage, really high, it's not like 10, but I mean when a video is like really high to the extreme, insane high amount, you know that the people are somehow tweaking the system. Maybe they're using a bot. But he explains about bots and favoriting, and people he says he has proof that are doing it in YouTube. And so if you're interested, just check the video out to understand how some people use this to their unfair advantage to get subscribers and to stay on the front of the YouTube's channel page. So check that video out. Next up, Jill Poo 3, National Mega Man Week. He basically said everybody should, wanted everybody to play Mega Man this week, and he shows his entire Mega Man game collection, from the NES to the Famicom all the way to the Mega Man 9 to 10, came out for the Wii and stuff. So actually, after watching that video, it made me want to play Mega Man. It made me want to turn on my 360 and play Mega Man 10. So you should check that video out. And if you want to see some of his cool Mega Man shirts. Next up, Dinky Dana, Flea Market, Video Games, Chess Set, and Thinking Man's Golf. He shows you going to his flea market he goes to. And it shows you some of the displays that some of the games the vendors had displays. And then when he's done, he shows you what he picked up there, what he got. He got some really cool stuff. And an instruction book that a guy gave him, a vendor he hasn't seen in almost a year, something he showed on YouTube. The vendors remembered and gave him the instruction book for it. So you should check that out. It's really cool. And last but not least, Jurassic Junkies Friday Night Rant 22, Capcom, Rage, Catherine, and Ice Cream. You want to know what the ice cream's about? He takes a beer that he likes and he puts ice cream and he puts it together. But the question at the end of his video was, what have you bought digitally that you were disappointed with? And it means anything digitally. So go watch the video. Not only does he rants a little bit about obviously Capcom, but he also talks about games he's looking forward to and stuff like that. And so go check out that video. So guys, that's it for now. I will see you all on Friday.